All right, welcome back. This is math packet number 2, part 4. We're going to do pages 10 through 12 today. Again, the first part of this is actually connected to part 3. So if you have not watched part 3, you may want to do so in order to understand these problems. So first things first, I'm actually going to number these 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And what we're doing again in this instance is we are looking at our tables to try and figure out how to write our equation. And remember, with writing our equation, we find the change in y and the change in x. And in order to do that, we're going to only look at the first 2 points. Okay, this is point 1 and point 2. And remember, the change is point 2 minus point 1. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of zoom this in a bit so you can see what I'm doing. All right, so remember, constant is y over x, because that's basically what we're trying to find. We're trying to find the constant. So looking at my y's, remember these are x's, these are y's. So looking at our y's, the point 2 is 96 minus 108 over 1 minus 0. And when we do this, we get negative 12 over 1. Now you may be confused because you're like, oh my gosh, that's a negative number. It's okay that it's a negative number. It doesn't have to be a positive number. Constants can also be negative. So this is your constant. So now in order to put that in our equation, we do y equals negative 12 over 1x. We'll do one more just to kind of wrap your head around and remind us of what we're doing. So again, I'm going to look at my first 2 points. So point 1 and point 2, x and y. Remember point 2 minus point 1 to find our change. So looking at our y's first, we're going to see negative 14 minus 0 over 1 minus 0. And you should get negative 14 over 1. Again, negative, totally fine. So we place it back in our equation. Y equals negative 14 over 1x. So your job is, I want you to try and do 7, 8 on your own, 7, 8, and 10 on your own. 9 is exactly as 8, so we're actually going to cross that one out. So you just need to focus on 7, 8, and 10. I also want you to work on the summary at the bottom. So it says, in your own words, summarize the steps you take to write the equation for the following table. This does not have to be paragraphs long. Just make this short. You can do bullet points. However you want to do it, you can do step by step. You can make it in the sentence form, just as long as I understand how you understand how to find your constant and write your equation. So you're responsible for this page, 7, 8, 10, and the summary. Okay, go ahead and flip it to the next page, page 11. And on page 11, we're going to be doing quite a bit. We're going to be looking at tables, we're going to be writing equations, we're going to be graphing, and then we're going to be answering questions off of the table and graphs. Okay, so it might be a lot at first, but I just want you to try your best to keep up with what we're doing. So this might be a little bit longer video just because there's more steps involved. So just kind of bear with me through this process. So there's like a lot of words on here and a lot of hints and a lot of things like that, and that's fine if you want to read it. But I'm just going to tell you how I visualize this, and we'll just go from there. So it says the library charges $1 just to use the copier, and then 50 cents for each page copied. So just to use the copier in general, you need that $1, and then it's 50 cents added on per copy. So it says complete the table and use the graph to graph the relationship. So the first thing I actually want to do is I actually want to make an equation, okay? So when I think of this, first thing is it says you use $1. So I know it's $1 instantly. And then it's 50 cents per page. So it's $1 added on to that 50 cents for each page. So when it says for each page copied, that means it's multiplied. So think of it as like, okay, if it's one page, you would multiply by 50 cents. If it's 2 pages, you would multiply by 50 cents. So it's just multiplied. So they're using P for pages, so I'm going to use P for pages. And this all equals the amount of dollars. Okay, so it's $1 plus the 50 cents for each page copied equals your total cost in dollars. Okay, so think of this as your y equals kx. Okay, so here's your k, here's your x, and here's your y. So constant is 50 cents. X is your papers copied, and Y is your dollars. So if that confuses you, maybe put a line. Okay, so now I can answer the table. So basically what you're doing is you're just inputting what you have into the table. So this is like back to substitution. Okay, so I'm going to write it underneath here because I have room. So they want to know how much it costs for 15 pages copied. So I just have to put 15 in for P, or if you want to think of it as 15 in for X, okay? So I'm going to have 1 plus 50 cents times 15, okay? 1 plus 50 cents times 15. And when you do that, you get 8.5. But remember, we're talking about money because it's total cost in dollars. So you get $8.50. So it costs you $8.50 to copy 15 pages. Okay, so now we're going to do it the reverse way. Now we have the total cost, but we need to figure out how many pages. So you're using the same thing, except for putting 10 in for X, you're going to put 10 in for Y, or 10 in for dollars. Okay, so I'm still going to have 1 plus 50 cents P equals $10. Okay, so this is back to our like two-step equations. So remember, you want to get this variable done and away with first. So remember, if it's adding, you're going to subtract. So 1 minus 1 we know is 0, so that goes away. And we're going to bring down our 50 cent P equals. Now we have 10 minus 1, which is 9. And then we're going to divide by 50 cents on each side. And when we do that, we find out P equals 18. So it is 18 pages for $10. Okay? We're going to do this multiple times, so if this doesn't make sense right now, I apologize. Trying to figure out how to word this as well as possible. Okay. So now we need to graph our table. Okay? So if you notice, going this way, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you have 10 going this way and 10 going this way. And we need X to go all the way up to 18 at least. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go by I'm sorry, I'm trying to think. What are we going to go by then? Should probably figure that out for all of these. So if there's 10 and I want to go up to 20, 20 divided by 10 is 2s. So is that right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Yeah, going by 2s. Okay, sorry, I had to figure that out. Excuse me. So we're just going to go by 2s per line. So we're going to say this is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20. And it's the same for our y's. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. All right. So first point is 2, 2. So that would go right here, 2, 2. Then we have 10, 6. So over 10 up to 6. 15 and 8.5. So 15 is between 14 and 16. And then 8.5 would be maybe about right there. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then I have 18, 10. 18, 10. Okay. So there's our graph. Looks fairly well. You can connect the points if you want. You don't have to though. Okay, so now we have to answer A and B. A and B is kind of hidden, but we have to answer these. So it says, write an algebraic expression, which we did. How many pages were copied if the total cost was $7.50? So we have our dollar amount. We need to find our pages amount. So that's kind of like what we did for this second part right here. So we're going to have, I'm going to have to move this down. We're going to have 1 plus 50 cents P equals $7.50. Subtract 1 first. 1 minus 1 is 0. So you have 50 cents P equals $6.50. And then we're going to divide by 50 cents on both sides. And you get P equals 13. So it says how many pages? 13 pages. So that's A. This is A. So then B asks, what is the total cost to copy 50 pages? So now we have pages and we need our cost. So that's pretty simple. So you have 1 plus the 50 cents times your 50 pages. And when you do that, you get $26. Okay, moving on to page 12. This is the same thing, okay? It's just a different problem. All right, so number 2, bakery charges $7.50 for 1 dozen bagels and 50 cents for each additional bagel. Complete the table, use the graph, yada, yada, yada. So let's start with our equation first. So we automatically know that it is $7.50 just for a dozen. It's an additional 50 cents for extra bagels. Now this is the tricky part. It is times the additional bagels, but we're going to take that additional bagel minus that dozen, okay? So a dozen is 12. So if you don't know that, a dozen is 12 bagels. So when it says 50 cents for each additional bagel, it's not 50 cents for each bagel. So you want to make sure you take out that dozen before you just say B. Okay, so you're taking out that dozen that you already paid for, basically. So you already paid for the dozen with the $7.50. So you want to take out that dozen. And this is equal to the cost, so equal to D. Okay? And if that sounds confusing, just ask me a question in Google Classroom or Remind or wherever you want to ask. That's totally fine too. So remember X's and Y's. So this is K, constant, X, and Y. This is Y. This is your Y. Okay? All right. So first things first. let's just start with X's because that's easier. Or your B's, I should say. B for bagel. So I have 12 bagels. So we're just going to place that into our problem. So we have $7.50 plus your 50 cents times 12 bagels, so 12 minus that dozen. And when you do this, you get $7.50. So the total cost for 12 is $7.50. And that makes sense because it's 12 bagels is $7.50. Okay, now look at 15. So $7.50 plus 50 cents times 15 minus 12. When you do this, you get $9. Okay, so we're subtracting the dozen because you have 3 extra donuts. So think about that. There are 12 dozen donuts, so the additional donuts is 3. So you're just multiplying by 3, really, for the extra, and you get $9. Okay, so now we're going to do the opposite. Now we have our cost, and we need to find our bagels. So I'm going to have $7.50 plus the 50 cents, B minus 12 equals 8. Now, just stick with me when we go through these steps. We're going to subtract $7.50 first from each side. When you do this, bring down your 50 cents times B minus 12 equals 50 cents. Now this means multiply. When you have a number next to parentheses, that means multiplication. So the opposite of multiply is to divide. So I'm going to divide by 50 cents. So now we have B minus 12 equals 1 because 50 cents divided by 50 cents is 1. And now we're back to basics. Opposite of minus 12 is plus 12. And when you do that, those cancel out and you have B equals 13 because 1 plus 12 is 13. Okay? And I know some of you are like, that sounds like way too much. That's too much work. I mean, if you want to do it a simpler way, you can. So for instance, I know that 12 bagels is $7.50. 8 minus $7.50 is 50 cents. And I know each additional bagel is 50 cents. So 12 plus 1 is 13. I mean, it's however you want to do it, but this is how you show your work in order to get it differently. Okay. I'm almost running out of room, but that's okay. We're just going to keep going. So next we have $9.50. So I'm going to show that. I'm running out of room. I'll just show it here. So $7.50 plus your 50 cents, B minus 12 equals $9.50. Subtract $7.50 on each side, just like we did. Bring down your 50 cents, B minus 12. And we know $9.50 minus $7.50 is 2. Then we're going to divide each side by 50 cents. Then you're left with B minus 12. And 2 divided by 50 cents is 4. Add 12 to both sides. And you get B equals 16. So there are 16 bagels. Okay. So now we're going to graph. Again, there's 10 on each side. So we're just going to go by 2's again, because that just makes sense. So I'm going to write 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. And 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. All right, so my first point is 12 and 750. So I'm going to go over 12, up 750. Oh, wait, it's down here. This is 7. 750 is about right there. Okay, then I have 13, 8. Okay, then 15, 9. 15, 9. And then 16, 950. Oh, that's a really small graph. It should be straight. I tried to do the best I could. Okay. So now we're going to do the A and B. So it says, how much will 2 dozen bagels cost? So we have our bagels and we're trying to find our cost. So this is just going to be $7.50 plus 50 cents times, how much is 1 dozen? 12. So 2 dozen is 12 plus 12, which is 24, minus 12. When we do this, you get $13.50. Okay? Now it says, how many bagels can you buy for $20? So $20. So you're doing the long version, or if you can figure it out in a shorter way, that's totally fine too. So I'm going to take $7.50. I don't think I'll be able to fit all this, but I'm going to do my best. 20. So when I'm going to shorthand this. When we subtract $7.50, you get $12.50. When you divide by 50 cents, you get 25. And when you add 12 to 25, you get 37 bagels. Okay, so I just shorthanded it. So you subtract $7.50 first from 20, and you get $12.50. Then you divide by 50 cents, and you get 25. And then you add 12, and you get 37. Again, if you have questions, please ask. I know this is a lot to take on, so I'm just doing my best to kind of make this as easy as possible. Okay, last one for today, number 3. At a local farm, it costs $5 to pick your own peck of apples, and it costs $3 for each additional. So we're going to start off easy. So $5 just to begin with, plus $3 for each additional peck. So it's the same thing as number 2. So we're going to write P for peck minus 1 equals D for dollars. And the reason why it's minus 1 now is because it's just the first peck of apples. So the first peck of apples, so that's 1. And each additional is 3. So you're taking away that 1, so you're not paying extra. Okay. We're going to start with 4 and 6 first. Okay, P for peck, D for dollars, X and Y. All right, so I have 5 plus 3, 4 minus 1. And when you do this, you get 14. So it is $14 for 4 pecks of apples. Okay, looking at 6, 5 plus 3 times 6 minus 1. And when you do this, you get 20. So it's $20 for 6 pecks of apples. Now we're going to do the opposite. And again, this is a little bit longer version, but it works. The first is $5. So we're going to take away 5 first. We're left with 3 times p minus 1. And we know 5 minus 5 is 0. Now I'm going to divide each side by 3. And now we're left with p minus 1 equals 0. Now you're going to add 1 to each side, so you find out p equals 1. So for $5, it's 1 peck, which we know. Okay? Now looking at 11, if I have 5 plus 3 times p minus 1 equals 11. Subtract 5 first. Divide by 3. And add 1. So for 3 pecks of apples, it's $11. Perfect. Now we're going to graph. We're going by 2s. If you want to write the 2s, go for it. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. All right, so my first point is, and if you need this, X and Y. My first point is 1, 5. So 1, 5. Then 3, 11. 3, 11. 4, 14. 4, 14. And then 6, 20. Okay. And now we're going to look at A and B at the bottom. So A and B at the bottom. So how much will 11 pecks of apples cost? So you have your pecks, but you're trying to find your cost. So you'll take 5 plus 3 times 11 minus 1. And when you do this, you get $35. B says, how many pecks will you buy for $17? So now you have your dollars, but you need your pecks. So you're going to take, and I'm going to write it more up here so we have more room. 5 plus 3 times p minus 1 equals 17. Subtract 5 on both sides. Divide by 3 on both sides. And add 1 on both sides. So you have 5 pecks equals $17. And that is it for part 4